He had a hip replacement. He's tan because he's living in California, not in Utah. He's better looking.
I know.
Last time I saw him.
You know, let's right here. Let's bring up this point. I was in morbid levels of pain for 3 years. Did not sleep through the night. The first night I slept through was through the night, 8 hours, was July 30, whatever the last day of July is, 31st of this year. First night through in 3 years. If your clients are in pain and we put them into more pain, it doesn't always work. I lost 4 inches off my waistline. Here is my miracle protocol. Have them cut your leg open, saw your femur in half, hammer in some steel, drill this out and put it in. I lost 4 inches, cortisol, but that's for another time and place. But you guys remember that today? If your clients aren't, we'll talk more about it because we're talking about it in the car too. These guys are doing, where's Kevin? Oh, these guys are doing that soft tissue work, right? The massage stuff. If your clients are in pain, you send them to a masseuse 3 days a week and they're out of pain, they might lose more of this than me, you know, doing more punching bag work or, you know, okay? All right, so I'm here today to talk to you about 2 things today, but the first thing is I want to give you some lessons about this industry, okay? Oh, by the way, because it's me, what's my financial model? I just told it to you guys. Give everything away for free. Okay, and then you make it up in volume, right? That's where you make your money, is in volume. Okay, is it too early in the day? Do you not get the joke? You give it all away for free and you make it up in volume? You don't get the joke? These kids go to Harvard so they can't laugh or something like that?
We do have a very intelligent staff, so you can
work harder. So, I'm not going to tell you about how to make money in this industry because I don't know, even though I do pretty well. I'm not going to tell you how to get clients because I don't know. You know how I get clients? I answer my email. I just, damn, okay. Yes, I will take your money. I taught high school, I taught for 34 years, 35 now I guess, 34. And it's nothing, teaching's nothing like that. But what I'd like to talk about today is the 3 great lessons I've learned in this industry. The first one is going to be something you probably already know about, okay? So the first one is really Pareto's Law. Pareto was that great Italian, and sometimes that's a D here, Pareto's Law. The great Italian economist who kind of figured out something very interesting. It's also called the 80-20 rule. Now, and I know all you go 80-20 because it is a cliche, and I know it. Talking about Pareto's Law has become a cliche in the sports field. I know that. If you study high school football teams, you'll notice that 20% of your athletes score 80% of your points. Well, that makes sense because usually it's the running back, a receiver, and probably a quarterback, right? But if you study high school basketball, you usually find out that it sneaks around that number too. 20% of the work you do bring you 80% of the benefits. 20% of the work you do brings 80% of the benefits. In my career, I've come up with this question, I call it the prisoner question. For whatever reason, for whatever set of goals you have, you're only allowed 3 15-minute periods a week to train for your goal. What would you do? Now listen, only 3 15-minute periods. Now, if you want to be a discus thrower and you told me, well, I would do soft core, soft muscle work, I would roll I'd do some soft tissue work, I would get my heart rate up on a treadmill for 12 minutes, I would say you're an idiot. If you have 15 minutes 3 days a week and you want to be an elite discus thrower, what do you think you ought to do?
Throw the discus.
Okay, would you throw the discus in a field? I'd say no, because the time it takes to go get that discus would eat up most of your time. I would throw something against a wall, a power ball. You guys have power balls? Okay, I would do full turns in a wall, and I might do overhead squats. So, or maybe I have a kettlebell. I do goblet squats, 5 full turns. I do some one-arm presses, 5 full turns, and try to get as many full turns as I can in that 15-minute period, right? Whatever you answer that question with, whatever you answered, what you would do in 3 15-minute bouts a week, is probably Pareto's law. If you have a fat loss client, and the fat loss client says, I can come in 7 days a week for 4 hours a day, 28 hours a week, how efficient are you going to be with that person? Well, you can, right? You're going to put them on the I guarantee you're going to put them on the treadmill. Why? Because no one here has 28 hours a week of fresh material. Mike, do you? I mean, do you have, if you had you could? I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe, you'd Olympic lift them, you teach them every kettlebell move, you teach them Garavoy sport, you teach them gymnastics, you teach them, okay, that gets you to Tuesday. Okay, then, but what if you had a client who only had 3 15-minute bouts a week? What would you have him do? You see how Pareto's law has really helped me in this career? I constantly go back to this prisoner model. When someone says I'm working with someone, now you guys know what GAA is? It's Gaelic Athletic Association. There's 3 great sports. There's hurling, there's what they call Gaelic football, which is basically a fist fight with a ball, and a game called handball. Handball, right? Okay, how many times have I ever seen a Gaelic Athletics Association handball game in my life? This many times in my whole life. Never have seen a game. But I was asked by this guy to help him with his sport. What was the first question out of my mouth? I said, what are the 3 key things to handball? And he kind of went like this. He goes, well, you got to master the kill shot. Okay. 2, you have to keep your eye on the ball. I thought, that's good advice for almost any ball sport, isn't it? It helps as a football player on defense to know where the ball is. If you don't, it really hurts you. And in hockey, they have a thing called the puck. Helps to know if you're a goalie where the puck is, right? And number 3, he says, you really got to know the tactic and skill of getting back into the middle. And then he stopped like this for a second. He goes, oh, you know what? I know we were heading on this. Basically, what I was going to tell this guy, guess what I was going to tell this guy he needed to do? He needed to work on his kill shot. What he was doing in his practice sessions was he was playing games all the time. What he needed to work on was the kill shots. Maybe take 20 balls and just work on kill shots. If you're with this fat loss client that you have, who's going to come in 3 times, 15 minutes a session, what are you going to do for that fat loss client? How many of you have fat loss clients in here? Do they have fat loss clients? What are you going to do?
Food log.
Oh, that's not bad. But you can't spend 15 minutes a week on the food. Well, man, they can spend the rest of their week doing the food log. I like that. Give me another thing. What would you do? I'll tell you something for works great. Tabata front squats. The only problem is that's only 4 minutes and they're supposed to be 15. And anyone who's ever done Tabata front squats knows you can only do it once every 2 or 3 weeks. It takes you 2 or 3 weeks to forget how bad it was. So maybe you have a Tabata workout and a food log. That's not bad. What else do you do with those other 15 minutes?
Density circuit.
What?
Density circuit.
Good, not bad at all. I would find a very inefficient exercise that causes the heart rate to go through the roof, causes massive amount of sweating. Heavy Hands by Dr. Leonard Schwartz, remember? You might remember. The reason Heavy Hands was so good is that putting 2 25-pound weights in your hands and walking like this up a hill is a crappy way to get up a hill. It's a totally inefficient way. You know why the swing is such good fat-burning exercise? Because you work like hell and go nowhere. The more inefficient treadmilling, I don't agree with it, but it's entirely inefficient. You have a $6,000 machine and you go nowhere, no matter how good you get. Now it is funny when someone slips on YouTube and they fall on it. That's kind of funny, So when you work with Pareto's law, what you begin to do in this industry is, what I always do is I always slam every person I work with into that 3 15-minute blocks a week, no matter what it is. If it's a basketball coach, I ask him the question. You guys can see that. I was sitting next to some famous basketball coach on a flight one time. Sadly, he was a basketball coach, so I didn't really care. But we talked for a long time. It's true. we talk for a long time, but if you ask me as a football coach, you know, the game of football, 11 on 11, 7 officials, stands, lots going on. But I can simplify that game into 3 chunks. I can beat you by being better at 2 or 3 things than you over time. In discus throwing, you know, you can break, what are the 3 essential things that they need to do? Once you figure out what those essentials are, when your people come in here, okay, now I'm a strength coach and I work at Body by Boyle. When someone says this is my goal, I want to get my jersey up on that wall up there, okay? I look at their sport, I look at the skill set I have, what are the essentials? What is the 20% of things that we'll do in here that will knock them up to this next level? Having said that, they're still at 80%, okay? They're still at 80%. Which leads me to my second point.